All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nun 382, joined by, I almost want to say two guests, but no, my good buddy, the other half of this show, my better half, Toby Nunn. Everyone asks, who's Nunn? I'm like, oh, it's just my co-host. He stays in the background, but I got Toby on with me tonight, and an old friend and a frequent guest, but we haven't had him on in a while either. Our good buddy, Deputy one time, Matt Thomas, coming from the Southwest. What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Good.
Toby, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm pumped up. Like it's a great surprise. You know, being able to come on the show tonight is absolute bonus. And then to be reunited, and it feels so good. With one time, but we can't call him deputy anymore, man.
No.
Yeah. Hey, I'm always a deputy at heart.
Promoted ahead of peers. It's so great to be here, Matt. Great to see you, Stu, my dude.
See you too.
Hockey season starts, hunting season starts. It's the most fishing tournament season started today. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
The leaves are changing, and tonight is a home opener for the Sabres. So right now they're undefeated. We'll see how it goes tonight.
That sounds like the only time of year they are.
Yeah. But I got my Bills, and we know the whole country loves the Bills. So hunting season started. I'm out Saturday. I am in the stand on Saturday, and I know Matt's going out too. So it is everything. October's the best. October's the best. My favorite.
I mean, what makes it so good, I think, is all the activities we just listed. They are family activities. Like while these can be solo tasks, they're much better enjoyed with fellowship, and I love it. Because Matt's about to go hunting with his son. You're getting quality time. Yourself when you're out there, Stu. I get quality time on the boats with folks this time of year, so I love it. I love this time of year because you're with people that you care about, your family, your friends. God gave us this earth.
Yep. Take the
to
most
sit in a cubicle and waste it seems lame.
Yeah.
In fact, disrespectful.
Yes. In fact, speaking of being with good people and all that stuff, I just finished up in hunting. I literally just finished before I came down here. Some great venison steaks, coated with some grill your ass off seasoning. I was with Jason Murph last week. There in Salado, Texas. Yeah.
Salado, Texas.
Yep. I was with him, got a full tour, got me a hat, all kind of swag, and hung out with him. Gave me a whole bunch of samplings. I'm going to be doing a taste test with him. We're going to have him on, but love that grill your ass off hat and shirts, and literally just had venison steaks covered with some grill your ass off seasoning. So all good stuff. Good people. Veteran-owned businesses, the way to go.
He's making us proud. That's a guy making us proud out there. So let's get caught up with Matt, man. We could always just watch him on TV, but let's get caught up. What's going on?
Oh man, you want me to?
Are you doing the socials anymore now than your new job? Let's talk about your new job.
Yeah. So I'm still doing the socials and stuff, and still staying active in that realm. I learned a lot from Mark in the social media stuff, and keeping yourself marketable, keeping yourself out there outside of just law enforcement. Just staying relevant in general, and trying to put a positive face for law enforcement. And especially now as a chief of police. I retired from the sheriff's office May 17th after 32 years, and took a new job 2 days later, May 19th, as a chief of police for a small town in our county, town of Florence, and been there since. And it's been a cool ride, man, because I went from a big agency, because we had about total staff, volunteers, everything, we're about 600, and at the PD that I'm at now, it's about 50. So a lot less volume to deal with, and a smaller town. And so it's really been nice, because it's like a little hidden gem too. The people are really good. speaking of family things, and they have all these family events all year round and get-togethers, and just real family-oriented community. And so it's been nice. And the my boss now is a town manager, and he is the former chief of police. So he kind of recruited me to take the position as he moved up to town manager. He needed to fill his shoes. He recruited me to come do that, and it's been kind of nice because having a boss that understands the police world in a city or town makes it a lot easier to manage.
Yeah, I'd imagine be an administration boss that gets it, that understands that is walk the walk. Is you don't have to keep proving yourself or explain why this or anything like that. That they get it. Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah, and that was a big part of it. He told me as we were talking, because I turned him down a couple times and said, no, I'm good. I'm going to retire from the sheriff's office and kind of fade off into the sunset. And he kind of kept coming at me with this, and we talked about him leaving and him needing somebody that can take it to the next level. And he said, you have the experience, you have the background to do that, and I really need you to come help us out. And so it's been good, man. A lot of good cops there, good people there. They've given me more than a warm welcome. So it made it a really easy transition, because I was I was super nervous because I had been at the sheriff's office since I was 20. So, I spent my life there. And so now I was looking at the prospect of walking away where I have spent all of my adult life. And that's a scary thing, man, whether people want to admit it or not. It's a scary thing to walk away from that. And this made it a lot easier. This made it a smooth step away and stepping into something new. So I still stay kind of busy and kind of ride this out. And I think in my mind, I've got 5 years here and then I'll be done. I think we can get the things done that we want to accomplish at the PD and for the town. And then I want to prepare one of my commanders to be the next chief, because I'd like it to stay internal the next time and have one of them prepped and step up and be the guy.
If anyone knows stepping out of their comfort zone into a whole new world, is Toby Nunn. Let me tell you, this is the king of jumping in both feet to something new and unknown. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm definitely a cautionary tale. I love that in the town that my wife and I have a house in Texas, just outside Austin, called Georgetown.
Oh, I love Georgetown.
Our former police chief, great guy, Wayne Nero, love the guy, big fan of him. Shout out Wayne. He did the same thing. He took a position as assistant or deputy city manager and moved up in that position, and brought a guy by the name of Cheeto, just a phenomenal assistant chief up. And, when you have that kind of continuity, but, they're really different agencies, even though it's the same organization, but they're really different agencies with a different culture and different mentality. And when you can, merge those together, the only people that benefit are everybody.
Yeah.
The administration benefits, the community benefits, the force benefits, because you don't have I love you, dude. And one of the things I love about you is your humbleness, your humility. You're like, I went from a good size organization. You didn't just go from a good size agency. You went from a world famous agency, like Lamb's out there, doing crazy things. You guys got your own YouTube channel just for your traffic enforcement. You're right. Like Fridays with Frank out there, which I love. I'll give Frank a free fishing charter down in Cabo San Lucas if he can come down and talk to some of the people I got to deal with, because I love that guy. But no, you went from a very famous, high profile position with a lot of eyes on you. I mean, there was probably 2 or 3 A&E shows that focused on the agency that you were the co-leader of, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's a lot of eyes on you. That's a lot of pressure. And, you said it a little bit earlier about the importance of the perception of law enforcement. And, the past decade has been a nightmare.
Yeah.
It really has been a nightmare for law enforcement. And, like, I think that's the tide's starting to change on that a little bit. I think we're starting to see a sway, which I'm very happy for. We're starting, we're starting to see in the past couple months, the truth of people, their true hearts, shall we say, coming forth when it comes to law enforcement. And, the people that are mad about it are the people that are being finally held to account.
Right.
And like, that's the unfortunate thing. It's important that the community understands the value of the people supporting it, and being able to make that transition and work together, and having public safety at the root and the foundation of any like municipal institution, I think is crucial. My wife's in municipal government, and it's just, I think it's so important that we get back to where the community realizes that they're good guys.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you talk about municipalities of any size, right, big city, small city, I think we all know and understand, or at least we should. And I've had these conversations, with leadership when I was with the county, and leadership now with the town. And you have to remind people when they're talking government, like, you guys understand that there's one thing that holds us all together, right? Without this one thing, government doesn't matter, because it's going to be anarchy. And that thing is public safety, right? Public safety is holding this thing together. And if that falls, then it really doesn't matter what all the other branches of the government wants, because it's not going to be there. It's going to be complete chaos.
Yeah, I mean, Troy, so you can go here in a hot second, but I need to look no further than a grocery store parking lot to know that we are incapable of policing ourselves. Like, if we can't get a shopping cart back to a designated area after we used it for free, like,
hey, if you go to Aldi's and that thing costs you $0.25, you're putting that thing back because you're getting that quarter back. I'm just telling you.
Right.
Right.
That's why the airport with the dolly, right? The little luggage dolly.
Yep.
Swipe a card to use one of those these days.
I know.
Sadly, it has to take that. It takes $0.25 to make people do something as simple and as nice.
To do the right thing.
Yeah. But Matt, I want to kind of go back. You talked about going. I'm assuming this town was in the county that you had jurisdiction for as a sheriff deputy.
Yeah, that's where the relationship developed. It's actually the town that is our county seat. So the county, all the county government is in this town.
Okay, so it's not like even a town on the outskirts. You're right there, kind of in the area you were always in, anyways, just with a different uniform on.
Correct.
And
yep.
You probably see all the same people, and you're maintaining all that same network and relationship. How's that been? What's the community? Obviously, you've probably built years and years of, obviously, since you're 20, relationships. People have been like, "We miss you being a sheriff deputy. This is awesome. Congratulations!" Like, how's the feedback been?
The feedback's been really good. The town itself was, again, because it's a smaller town, right? And I was coming from county, and the county is the big government in that area. So the town itself, like, even my town council, the council members were like, "Oh my God, we can't even believe that we got you. Like, this is amazing for us and for our town that we got somebody of your caliber to come be our chief." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, I'm just a dude, but whatever." They view it as a complete win for the town. And that's what I mean. They've been super welcoming. So they've treated me like a rock star, dude. It was weird at first for me, because I don't feel any different than the next dude, and I'm just doing a job. But they have been very, very cool about, "You're here, you're with us, you're in our town, and you're only going to help make it." And the cool thing is, we have a really neat synergy going with our town, because I'm a department director is what I'm considered now when you look at the town, because you have department heads, right? And so, like, the head of public works, the fire chief, we're all department directors. and the town, under this town manager, he's had some good foresight to bring in talent into these director positions. And so there's several new department directors in different areas, and he's recruiting them from the bigger spots and bringing them in. Like for me, I watched our county blow up, right? And they just incorporated, but we had the largest unincorporated town in the U.S., right? That was our jurisdiction. And I worked as part of that town becoming what it was. It went from a, little farming town to a town of 125,000 population. And so the sheriff's office, had to go through that growth and police that growth. And so this town is on the verge of doing the same thing. They are probably, in the next 3 to 5 years, they're probably going to expand 40 to 60,000 in population. And so that's a quick expanse, and a lot of industry coming in, a lot of housing coming in, jobs going with that industry. And so they're not dumb about what they're doing, right? They're very calculated. And I think that was for the police department as well. It was a calculated move.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably impressed because of, a town that small probably doesn't normally get someone that has, like, say, your caliber and your years of experience, right? I would obviously don't know about police chiefs, but I know a lot of times they kind of come from the politics side of the house, right? They kind of work their way up, and you bring on the ground, door kicking kind of experience, and that kind of stuff, and that's probably why they feel so lucky. I mean, for a town that size to be able to get you. Sorry, Toby.
Yeah, and that was a lot of the discussion with the former chief is his fortes were different than mine, right? So we're almost like a yin and yang combination with him outgoing and me coming in. He laid a really good foundation of getting policy in place, getting the place accredited, and, doing all that stuff to kind of lay a good foundation. And then he told me, he says, I need somebody to take it to the next level. And you're the guy, like, you come in with all this experience behind you to kind of make it, let's do some policing now and move the policing part forward.
Yeah. You just said a couple of things about growth, and that is tremendous and exceptionally rapid growth.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about Georgetown, we've experienced that. What industries are coming because that's like you're doubling in size, right?
Right.
So like that's substantial growth. And, so when you think of the impact of infrastructure, the pressure on roads, the pressure on fire stations, like how many calls, can your 50-person agency handle today versus how many calls can a 70-person agency handle in 6 months versus, so that scalability, that experience that you have with a large, would you say 600, with the Pinal, that scalability that you have experience with is crucial. But man, what's growing Florence so quickly and so rapidly?
Man, it's everything. The thing is, if you look at what people refer to as the Valley, right? The Phoenix metro area. The East Valley and West Valley is where the expansion is. And so it's the Valley itself, Phoenix metro proper, is expanding east and west rapidly. And so one of the things out here, it's kind of a bedroom community right now, right? So people can afford the housing out there that are still working up maybe in the Valley or East Valley, right? They're working up in Chandler, Mesa, Gilbert at some of the industry up there. And they're traveling back home there at night because they can get a house in Florence that is 100,000 cheaper than a house up in Chandler or Gilbert, which is in the East Valley. And so we have that going on. But some of the plans there are new freeways, north-south freeways, that are going to connect kind of the East Valley down to south of I-10, south in our county. And those major thoroughfares already have industry popping in. So what's happening here locally, like where I live in Queen Creek, and then this area, what's happening is they're just plopping up these huge industrial buildings left and right, like big Amazon centers, right? So we got a big Amazon center just up the road. And so they've got all these big industrial buildings going in. We've got a big LG plant going in that's supposed to bring
Okay.
like 2,000 jobs. So there's a lot of industry coming in this area that is going to, and again, the housing developments, I think there's, if I remember right, I think there's 7 housing developments, master plan communities that are planned in and around our the town of Florence now. And so those communities will do the same thing. Those are going to be um, houses built for some of the industry that's going in up in this area, because it's about, I don't know, by the way the crow flies, it's probably 20 minutes. So, not bad travel time to get to and from work if you're working in some of these industrial complexes. And then some of those industrial complexes are getting built closer to Florence. And then Florence itself, right now, the county government is the big employer. So it's the county seat. So you have all the county employees that go to and from.
Wow, it's I was just looking at a map just to kind of get oriented where Florence was. I used to live in Arizona in the late 70s, early 80s, and I was just amazed by, like, I remember driving for a while before we left home to get to Apache Junction or Chandler. That was like, you're going out boondocks. It's all connected now. It reminds me of Austin. We used to leave Austin. You drove for a while before you hit Round Rock, and then you drove for a while before you hit Georgetown.
Yep.
We're all disconnected. Now you never even know you leave it. But
it's the next exit sign.
Yeah, I could see why. I could see now why that area is. I mean, it's connected all the way down. I can see why there's nowhere to grow in the valley, right? It's pretty much overpopulated. So yeah, if they're going to put large distribution centers and things like that, and I mean, that's the area to be. I mean, that you're growing towards Tucson. That's crazy. Yep. It's wow. It's So let me ask you real quick. The problems that you faced is the types of crimes that we've had you on a number of times talking about. Obviously, it was different administration. The border was a much bigger threat, and you've talked about it. You've written books about it, but I'm sure the town faces some of the same challenges. But I imagine it has gotten better in the last months.
The border related stuff is way better. Yeah, I mean, it's night and day difference as far as the volume of bad guys coming through, right? So they have it really locked down, and hey, look at that guy. They have it really locked down, and whole different approach with this administration, and just different methodology. And I think we talked before on the show. It's all about policies, man. The whatever the administration who's in charge is, it's about their policies and how they treat the law and how they enforce the law. And that's all being done now. And that is helping tremendously. Now, have we stopped them? No, because they're a billion-dollar industry on the Mexican side, right? The cartels, they have a lot to lose. So we're not going to stop them. But the volume we were seeing of human beings being trafficked and smuggled has dropped. Dude, I mean, we were talking tens of thousands of people a week coming through, and now it's hundreds. So it's very significant drop in that stuff.
And it's had to make the town safer. I mean, that's had a tremendous effect on security, especially being a county.
Because where we're at, county seat, and then we have a state route that runs through our town. It's an ancillary route off of I-10 that goes north-south that connects Tucson to the East Valley. And so State Route 79 is a secondary route for the cartels when I-10 gets heated up, and that's, we know that from intelligence. And so if I-10 gets hot, or those main routes on that side of the county get hot, they push to these outside routes, and they end up coming right through our town with that stuff, with whether it's bodies or dope.
Have you been able to take some of that? I mean, I don't know how the PD that you're in charge of now, if they had the levels of training and enablement that you had at the sheriff's office, dealing with a lot bigger footprint. Have you been able to train them and bring them up to speed some and teach them some of the tactics and techniques and procedures and stuff like that?
Not yet. And quite frankly, it's all about it's baby steps, man. Because it's a small agency, right? I've only got 33 cops, right? So I've got 50 staff, 33 cops. And with those 33 cops, we're covering a town of 62. It's still a big area. 62 square miles is what we encompass. So we have a big footprint, not necessarily very populated right now, but a big footprint. So we have a lot of geography to cover. And then they don't have the experience and they don't have the volume, right? I think the volume is the bigger thing. They don't have the reps in that we would get at the sheriff's office, because the sheriff's office had the pure volume, and we were dealing directly with the primary routes, and so we're dealing more directly with the bad guys, and so they don't get the exposure in the town that our guys and gals would get in the sheriff's office. But the training, yes, I'm moving towards. I'm a big training guy, so I'm moving towards more training, getting them exposed to more outside stuff, because I hate the agencies that kind of get stuck in their own silo, and they think they're great because they only talk to themselves, and so I don't want to get caught in that conundrum, and so I like to send people out to get trained at different areas, get different views, get different networks, and so I'm kind of trying to set a foundation for that right now. But then, of course, it all comes down to money, right? And so you're talking a smaller town, smaller tax base, and so I don't have. I just can't be as nimble as I was as at the sheriff's office, because I had more resources to do it there than I do here.
But they're a phone call away.
They are a phone call away. And my good buddy, so when Mark took office, I don't know if I told you guys ever the full story. I was not Mark's first choice for second in command.
What?
Mark, because Mark and I really didn't know each other. Like, I knew who he was and he knew who I was, but we weren't friends or anything. But Mark called his former sergeant, who he was good friends with, and said, "Hey, I want you to be second in command." And that guy said, "No, dude, I'm not the guy. You need to talk to Matt." And so he said, "Well, I want you in my administration." And so that guy said, "Well, if you make Matt your number 2, I'll be your number 3. How about that?" And that's what ended up happening. And so that guy, when I told the current sheriff that I was going to go ahead and retire and take this job, he moved that guy into my position at second in command.
Nice.
And so he's a phone call away. And so is the sheriff. The sheriff now, Russ, is just a great dude. I mean, Mark and I kind of handpicked him to ask him to run. And he's been doing a fantastic job as sheriff. And he's a phone call away too. And he's just a great guy, Navy vet, and worked at Department of Corrections. So he has a really broad experience as well, and brings a lot to it. But yeah, both of them, I've asked several times. Actually, the second in command, in one of our text threads, me, the sheriff, and him, he said, "Man, I never knew Matt was so needy until he left," because I keep calling him, asking him for favors.
Yeah, you don't have those deep pockets like you did there when it comes to resources.
That's right.
The is it generally is it pretty quiet? I hate using that word because it's a jinx.
Yeah,
but
don't use that word, man. I'm not answering that.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of violent crime there and that kind of stuff, or is it more just your misdemeanor domestics and that kind of and everything?
So we were, up until a few years ago, we were the safest city in Arizona for like years running, which is funny because part of our population that we get to count as our population is in the biggest gated community in our community, and that's the state prison. And so we get to count those guys, and even with them in it, it was the safest city. So again, it's a bedroom community, so we have the same crime that everybody else has, but we don't have the volume and the violent crime and stuff. No, because we don't have. It's not like a metropolitan area. It's still, I would say, kind of a rural farming area. It's right on the cusp, right, of because there's that growth going on. So it's still rural farming area, right on the cusp of growing. And we know, we're not blind to the fact that as it grows, we're going to see that crime increase just because of the population coming in.
Yeah, as people push out, as those bigger businesses and distro centers populate and families move in, and people get pushed out of the Phoenix metro area,
Yep.
coming down there. That it's where I live too. People all move out to the burbs thinking I'm getting away from all the crime. They don't realize that the crimes very well could be in their household, just bringing it with them.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
But,
yeah, and I mean, you get anytime you get population, you get everything that goes along with it, right? You get the traffic, so you get the accidents, you get the speeders, you get the domestic violence, and burglaries, all that stuff comes with it.
Yeah. Is marijuana legal there? Medicinal? Any of that free use? I can't keep with what's
Yeah,
legal,
it's legal, completely legal. So 2010 they passed medical marijuana, and when they did that, Colorado told us stand by because it's coming. Legal's coming next, because once they get their foot in the door with medical, legal's coming. And so I think it was a decade later. No, it wasn't a decade later. See, 2010. Yeah, it was just about a decade later. They legalized it for recreational use, and so now it's completely legal, which is it's been really weird, right? As a cop, coming, especially for me being a longtime cop, and that being like weed being a big part of our battle against the Sinaloans, and all the stuff that went behind that, all the death, destruction, all that stuff that went along with that fight. And now you're at a point where it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just
I saw a
weird.
report the other day that they were saying just over half, around half of traffic fatalities are now, I think it was a little over 50% include the driver being high on some kind of THC in their system.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. They can't.
We went from when they legalized it, we went from, I think the numbers flipped, and the traffic guys will know better than I do, but I think the numbers flipped. So when you're talking DUIs, right, driving under the influence of whatever, DUIs were about 90% alcohol, 10% drugs, and when they legalized weed, that completely flipped. It went down to like 10-20% alcohol DUIs, and 80 to 90% drug DUIs because of the weed. And a lot of times once they get into the weed, they have other stuff on board too. So they'll start, it's a gateway drug, whether people want to admit it or not. So they'll start using other stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never lived anywhere where it's legal, or
Except Mexico.
or it's not legal here.
No, Mexico? No?
No, actually,
Well,
not.
I mean, here
right?
legal.
Now
Mexico has tough gun laws and tough drug laws, which is ironic, but yes.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, every 10 feet, the most annoying part of my day on the marina is, we call them pochos, which is a term of endearment for someone that was, raised in the United States or spent a lot of time in the United States, and, their lingual skills, English lingual skills are pretty good.
Right.
And, they utilize those guys. And this is very low level stuff, right? So like, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. This is not a high level thing. This isn't super organized. In fact, using the word organized in these guys is probably disingenuous. But they're trying to sell you like recreational drugs to tourists, right? So they walk by and they like
steroids, marijuana.
Like, hey, look, we have these Cuban cigars, and you wave off the cigar. They're like weed, Molly, blow, black tar heroin. Like it escalates quickly. But no, it is not legal here in Mexico. It's definitely, there's a social norm to it,
right?
But it's not legal. So like for me, the DUI thing, I'm currently in a place where they could definitely take some DUI lessons. But I wouldn't even know how to manage that, because one, you have like this misconception, you have all these myths, and then you have like testing.
Right.
Yeah. Like my ears got jammed up in the war a little bit, a couple of detonations. On my most sober day, which lately there've been a lot of, I can't stand on one foot.
Right.
Like I can't walk in a straight line on my most sober day.
Yeah.
So like if I get pulled over and someone starts asking me to do like field sobriety things, they're going to get a hard no.
Right.
Like I'm going to be like, let's get to the part where like science and nothing is subjective. Like let's get to definitive proof.
And
if you're gonna jam me up with this, there's gonna be blood. There's gonna be so like I don't know how you would even manage that on the side of a road.
That's
Like,
been a big push because of the way things have switched in that world, in the DUI world. Um, like here in Arizona, we're at the forefront of drug recognition experts, and which are referred to as DREs. And so, like cops will call it a DRE, but it's a drug recognition expert. And so these guys are trained, and there's stuff with your eyes. There's stuff with there's different tests that they do besides what you're talking about that gives them indicators as to your being impaired and your impairment level, and it gives them indicators as to whether you have an antidepressant on board, whether you have a stimulant. So they can go through the series of tests, and they can determine you most likely have X on board, right? Not ecstasy, but whatever drug.
right. No,
board.
like
and
variable.
then they'll right, and then they'll take urine and blood samples to then confirm that. And so, and they're trained as experts so that we can charge off of that, right? So if they pulled you over, they went through these tests, and they said, "Yep, most likely has stimulants on board," and then they take your blood, and they have you pee, and they charge you with the lowest level DUI, and then they wait for the blood to come back to see what else is going
And
to
then
go
they
along
add
with
to
it.
it.
Yeah. So that it is manageable because there's a solution for that. It's just
Well, I mean, you always see the videos, right?
right.
And now I'm not talking about the Cheech and Chong videos from back in the day, but like you see the videos where like there's obviously something physically present.
Right.
Like guy rolls down the window, plumes come out. And the guy's like,
you don't even have to have that, man. I'm a student of
I
PD.
think I smell marijuana.
Yeah, I mean,
Probable cause.
it stinks. I mean, I mean, back in the day, I mean, yeah, it just everything
Yeah.
stinks now. I mean,
Well, one of the funny things with the legalized marijuana, people locally somehow they have translated that into I can drive with it, right? It's legal.
Right.
Like, dude, no, you cannot smoke and drive. That's not a thing. Like, it's still illegal to do that. But they have in their mind, and it's not like a thing that they're doing to justify it. This is a legitimate belief by people because it was legalized that they can smoke it and then drive because it's legal. And you have to explain to them, look, it's the same as like whiskey, right? Whiskey's legal, but you can't drink it and then drive.
yeah, they haven't done
They
it.
didn't
Yeah.
correlate those two together.
Right.
Like,
Well, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you, for us in law enforcement, dude, when I was still the chief deputy over at Pinell, it was a weird thing when they legalized it because I remember very distinctly the first time I had to deal with this as a manager of an organization was when my IT director came to me and he said, "Hey, we have a really good candidate for our IT department, and we would really like to hire him." And I'm like, "Okay." And they were like, "But he smoked weed last week," and I'm like, "Nope, out, you know, DQ'd, right?" Because we're called safety sensitive,
yeah.
and so it's a safety sensitive position. But what we had to look at was we were now going to eliminate quite a bit from our candidate pool for civilian jobs like that. And when we talked to our legal department, that was the discussion that we had, and they put it in terms I could understand very easily, which was the
Discrimination.
whiskey thing. No, it was the whiskey thing. They were like, if this guy drank whiskey last week and now applied for you and wants to work for you, would he be hired? Well, yeah, no different. It's legal. And I'm
Yeah.
like, shit. Yeah. So it was a paradigm shift for us, you know.
Plus, like, you would. I'm sure there's an argument. I don't know what it would be like, but I'm sure there's a form of argument where you're discriminating against somebody for doing something that's legal in their own time, in their own place, and
Yeah. Well, and again, we can always lean back on, like with this particular instance, we said, okay, dude, the fact that you smoked just prior to getting hired, we can't do anything about. But from the day we hire you on, you can no longer use because you are going into a safety sensitive position, and it's still against federal law, right? They haven't figured that piece out.
Right.
And we have federal grants that we have to abide by, and so there are ways for us to, still not allow people to do that because it's not completely legal in the U.S. It's just the feds and the states just need to, honestly, the feds just need to legalize it, dude. That's because it's coming.
I was.
You've heard about the Trump administration is considering removing it as I think what's the right term, class 1 drug,
Schedule 1.
Schedule 1. They're looking at lowering it. I mean, what kind of impact would that have?
Well, I mean, the legalization, because it's so socially accepted now.
Yeah.
That I mean, that I think that ship has sailed, dude. So I think it's smart of the feds just do what they do, man. Legalize it and tax it, and
Yeah.
get the tax money from it.
I was speaking to a Canadian Armed Forces guy, current active duty Canadian Armed Forces guy, about a month ago, and he down here visiting family, and he weeds and several other things are federally legal in Canada,
right?
And so I was like, we got tested. 10% of the force got tested monthly, and then 50% of the force got tested quarterly. Is that right, Troy? And then annually 100% of the force got tested, or biannually the force got 100% of the force got tested. So I've always been in an environment where like that's a hard no, you can't do it,
right?
And I'm like, well, and the weed thing came up, and he's like, yeah, like we're allowed to do it, like
it's crazy, man.
I'm like, so like, because of course, the very first thing that went to my mind is like, seeing tracers. And I'm like, I'm on a night fire range, it's live fire, and all of a sudden I'm Star Wars. Like,
did you see the size of that chicken?
I'm like, you see the size of that cock-a-doodle, dude? Yeah. We're in the spirit world. You
wouldn't want to be on a night live fire range on a half a fifth of Crown Royal either.
No, right? No, sir. No, sir.
No,
sir.
I was a lifetime mortar guy. I may or may not have witnessed or known anyone that was pretty messed up shooting 4-deuce mortar rounds for night gunnery tank fire. I'm just saying.
No, come on. That never happened.
There's mathematics involved in that. You guys make it sound like you're direct fire. That's indirect with mathematics. You just got to like hold it over a little hole. You got to be like, I got it in there.
And remember to move your hand.
So many kids, because all you do is put big things in holes.
Yeah, but if you're smoking weed or drinking, you're like, all right, you ready? Yeah. Boom. Oh, dude, it went the wrong way.
Yeah. But no, it is crazy to think about the military, because obviously in the U.S., because it's still federally a crime, you can't have a security clearance and do that. You can't. I mean, it's there's a lot of things you can't do. But I do know, Matt, you mentioned, I do know some. Obviously, I live in the socialist state of New York. Local law enforcement agencies here, the cops are allowed to. They're allowed to partake. Man.
Is it legal in New York?
It is legal in New York. Yes, it is very legal.
It's crazy to say that, that the cops are, because the one thing I don't, and I just don't know the science behind it, and I don't know that they haven't figured out. Like, I know there are timelines, like how when you smoke it, your body burns it out or whatever. So when you're like, how much time has to pass between smoking it and they're able to go on duty? Because like for alcohol, it's an 8-hour separation for us, right?
Right.
So from the time you drink to the time you go on. Yeah. So is it the same? Do you know? Is it the same for weed?
I don't know, but let me clarify real quick just before I get any hate mail. I'm not saying every local law enforcement can. It varies by department. Dude. It varies by department. So I'm sure some towns still don't, but I know some towns do.
Just all you have to do is look at your Cheeto and Dorito sales, and you'll know which towns do, bro.
It's like how NOAA looks at the Waffle House meters, right? They look at the Waffle Houses that shut down to know how bad the storms are.
Yeah.
If the Waffle Houses are shut down, it's a bad category 4. So
Yeah.
that's they tell that. So
Matt,
been wiped out.
you know, we went down the weed rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Hey man, let's talk to you about like some of the things that you've accomplished, like the socials and the you're now like best selling. Let's talk about that because
Okay.
I mean I this is a huge challenge for me. Like, and you bear with me on this.
Yep. I got
Like,
you.
for me, social media is a crucial part of marketing. Like that's, I'm trying to attract clientele. I'm trying to, inspire clientele. I'm trying to educate clientele. We're trying, social media is a big part of it. Authorship, like Troy and I both have, done a little bit of writing and I'm like, do I need to write more, to work on this stuff? But the management of that outside of an exceptionally demanding job, like I don't have as many employees as you do, but I have a decent amount. And it that takes a lot of time. Just that takes a lot of time. I got a lot of moving pieces, right? It's a big body of water out there, and I'm putting a small moving object that is prone to mechanical failure, with human people in charge of it, with sharp objects everywhere, moving around. How do you manage what are like mechanisms that you utilize that you manage the regular duties, your daily duties, which are substantial, to like having time to like, because I'm pretty pumped about your new book. I got to get it in the US. It's probably not something I should be reading and like sitting on my desk.
Yeah. Do not buy it down there, bro. Do not. Yeah. Yeah. Please. I do not want your head to leave your body.
No, see, like that's the thing. It's like, I got to watch how I phrase this. I'm actually in like the safest place ever.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. Until it's not, right. Like the, Georgetown was a like a bedroom community too.
Right.
Well, it wasn't.
Until Williamson County was nonstop on live PD.
Yeah, well, like we had to compete with Pinell County,
That's
like,
right.
but no, like, how do you, cause like it's authorship, it's not a small undertaking. The process, not just the writing, right? Not the conceptualization of it, not just the process of it, but the editorial process, the promotion process. And so with the social media and all this stuff, like, what's something that you can share with us that's been helpful or beneficial for you in the management of that? Because you got 30,000 foot and then you're in the trenches at the same time, and like that's a lot of elevator. And talk to us about that.
Oh man. Well, you're talking as if I've mastered this, and I don't think that I have. I know what you're asking though, and so I think how I manage it, because actually one of my commanders asked me this the other day. We were sitting in my office and he's like, dude, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. And he goes, how in the hell do you stay so focused on stuff, right? Like all the different stuff that you're doing, because I've got a lot of stuff going on. And I gave him a simple answer that I'm going to give you, but I'll explain it. And it's routine, right? I am very routine oriented and I'm disciplined in my routine. And quite frankly, when my routine gets disrupted, it screws me up. And so that helped in the sense that I would, in my routine, I just build my time out. Like, okay, I have free time here, and I'm one of those guys that just can't sit still, right? So if I have free time here, let's say for me, like I have to go to the doctor's office, right? And so typically speaking, you go to the doctor's office for a normal checkup and you're sitting in the lobby for 30 to 45 minutes before they get you back there, right? And so I'm maximizing that time. So I'm sitting there for 30, 45 minutes. I may jump on my socials and I may create a couple of drafts of different things that I want to do for the week coming or whatever and get them ready. And then I may even, like schedule them ahead of time because I'm doing it all myself. I don't have an assistant or anything doing that. And so I'm just maximizing use of my time. And same thing, like if I need to make phone calls or stuff like that, or if I need to jump on Zoom meetings, I try to do that while I'm driving. Like I'll jump on the phone call and talk to whoever I need to talk to while I'm driving. So I'm getting two things done at once. You know, I'm going from point A to point B while I'm in a meeting with whoever I need to talk to. Uh, so that's a lot of it. The writing piece is, I don't know, man. That's one of those things where I have to, and I think you guys know this if you write. When I sit down to write, especially when I sat down to write the book, I had to be in the mood to write, and I had to be in the right mind frame.
Yeah.
And so there were times where I would carve out. I would say, okay, I'm going to sit down and write, and I'd tell my wife, hey, I'm gonna get on the computer and put my headphones on and just start banging stuff out. And she's like, okay. And I would. There were days where I'd be like, to he uh to he the okay, I got a word right. Yeah,
Everything.
but then there were days when I would sit down and I'd just be like, okay, oh yeah, and then that happened, and then that happened. Oh yeah, and then we did this, and so I would just be banging away, banging away, banging away, and all of a sudden I'd look up and it's 2 or 3 hours later, and I was like, oh, and it would be a raw product, right? So there would be grammatical errors and that type of stuff, but I would just get it done, right? And then I would say, okay, that's that story is a chapter. And so I would just bang out a chapter. And then what I found was I couldn't do it in any order. If I tried to sit down, for me anyways, and chronologically do stuff, it just wouldn't work. Because I had to, whatever I was thinking about, whatever was motivating me at that time, I had to get that done. And so I would just dive into that, get that piece done, and then I'm for the book anyways. At the end, I had all that stuff and kind of put it together. And the funny thing is with the book, when you talk to, like, if you talk to execs in the private sector, um, a lot of them, I've done all this cool shit that I think is cool in my career. I've done a lot of cool stuff, and I've been in a lot of different positions and a lot of leadership positions. And so, me walking into a room full of executives, especially when I'm walking into a room full of heavy hitting executives in their realm, I'm thinking that stuff is going to carry weight, right? That I'm going to come in and it does to some extent. Um, but I've found it's fascinating to me that a lot of them focus on the book. You wrote a book? Like, yeah, but like I did all this other cool shit. Like, look at my resume over here. And they're like, yeah, but you wrote a book? Dude, I didn't feel like it was, I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal compared to some of the stuff.
Yeah, I took down this many bad guys. I squashed the cartel. I did. Yeah, but you wrote a book. You're on Amazon.
Yeah. No, it's like they think you gave birth. Like
Right.
you wrote a book. Yeah. Like,
right.
You're a boy. Boys don't have babies. Like I've definitely had felt that, but man, the whole you got to be in the mood to write thing. I'm like working on like 2 projects right now, like just to kind of get my mind out of the mire that my daily life is sometimes. But like they're so different. Yeah. So like I could be in the mood for this and I could work on this, but I would be zero productivity on the other. Yeah. And you have to be in the right spirit. You have to be in the right spot. You have to be in the right environment.
Yeah.
For sure. You have to, like it sounds silly because, before like the fingers touch the keys and it populates, words and paragraphs and thoughts on the screen, like you've had to come to terms with what you're experiencing. You have to come to terms with what you're thinking, and like you're being vulnerable with yourself, and then you have to be honest with yourself, because you're like the very top of your book, the front page, the cover, the very top, a true account. So like am I, is this right? Like
right. Yeah. Well, and I think I told you guys the story. I'm not sure if I did or not because I've told it a few times, but the cover of the book, right? There's so many aspects to a book that people don't understand that I now know. And unless you've been through it, you don't get it. But even the cover, right? picking the cover, I worked with Katie, who did my forward, and Katie's been a long time friend and given me a lot of guidance on this book. And the cover I had picked, she was like, "No, that sucks, and it looks it looks like a cartoon, and it just screams fiction." And I was like, "What?" And, like, I thought it was a cool picture. And she's like, "No." She said, "Send me some cool guy pictures that you have of yourself." And she says, "I know this is counterintuitive for you and your type, but send me some of the pictures that you have." So I did, and she sent this one back, and she's like, "This is it." And so I used that picture that's on there, and she nailed it, man, because I have gotten more compliments. And then my buddy Joe, who did the book for me, Joe Verbanik, I basically said, "Hey, here's kind of what I'm thinking," and so I just gave him some thoughts in that picture of me, and he turned it into what you see as the back and the front cover. And he sent me that, and I was like, "Oh my god, like this is awesome." And then I sent it to Katie, and she's like, "Nailed it, go with it." And I'm like, "Cool." And sure enough, man, it's a thing, right? People pay attention to so much stuff. So and Katie kind of explained it to me. You want people to see that with all the other books, but that
Yeah.
catches their eye, and that's the one they want to pick up.
No, like you that's the thing about books. They're on a shelf with 50 other books.
Right.
Uh, like it's not what's inside the book, that's separating you, from the consumer making the decision to purchase
Right.
the outside of a book, and like the old "don't judge a book by its cover." That's bullshit. We do.
Yeah, we
Everybody
do.
does it. That's
Yeah.
exactly like,
Yeah.
They're either in the grocery store line or they're walking by a bookstore shelf, and so they pick it up. You've got to. It's the elevator pitch, right? You don't even have
Yeah.
30 seconds. You don't have an
Right.
elevator. You've got 5 seconds. They got to look at it
Yeah.
and say see enough words together. Like, oh, this. Let me take a moment, and then once they flip it open, then you've got them right. But
Yeah, for sure. And then even, I mean, all the stuff, right? All the stuff we've kind of, as we mentioned in passing. So you're talking about a book and talking about writing it, right? So sitting down, writing a book, just the manuscript itself, sitting down, doing that, that's one feat. And then editing the book, or having somebody edit that knows what they're doing, because I didn't. And I had somebody help me edit that, and then going through the editing process and learning what that actually looks like, and then formatting. It has to be formatted to a certain size, whatever size you pick, and then there's a formula for that, right? And so, and me, I was self-published because I felt like I had the opportunity to go down the publishing road with a publisher, but I felt like A, I didn't want to lose control of my material,
smart.
and B, I felt like I was doing their job when I was going through the contract itself, and I'm developing essentially their marketing plan as part of this contract. And I'm like, why am I doing all this shit for them? I thought this is what they would do as being the publisher, right? If I'm signing my rights away to my material and stuff, I at least assumed that they would do all that work, and they don't. You still end up
No,
doing it. And so I was like, well, the hell with that. I'm just going to keep it myself, right? So I went through, I had to figure out the editing piece, and I had Lori Lynn is a great editor, and she took care of me. And there was a bunch of you guys know I'm a guy of faith. There was a bunch of God stories mixed in with this whole book coming to fruition, where people, doors opened that I didn't even know were there. And those doors opened, and somebody walked out and said, "Hey, let me give you a hand." And so I got so much help along the way from several different people.
love it.
Lori being my editor, and then Lori introduced me to a formatter, and the formatter, she helped me out. And then Joe, my buddy that did the cover, and Katie, stepping in doing a forward for me, and yeah, just a bunch of different stuff. And then launching, they were like, "How are you going to launch?" And I'm like, I don't know, just put it on Amazon, I guess.
I'm going on the Stu and the Nun show.
Right. But even that stuff, you have to have a marketing plan to
Yeah.
launch, and then there's certain days and times that you launch depending on your genre, and then you're going for certain categories to hit bestseller, and there's all these things, man, that I kind of learned along the way. And then once it's done, you still got to keep going like this. Any chance I get to talk about the book, because I still want to get it out there, and I still want to do stuff with it. And I have So I'll even, like, when I'm traveling, I'll take a couple of books with me, and it's not really on bookshelves per se, right? Unless it's some specialty store that has them in
Right.
stock, but you're not going to see it at the airport, competing with the New York Times bestseller. So what I've started doing is taking books with me, and I'll sign them and just say, this is my book, and this is, a piece of
Smart.
American history, and thank you for picking it up. And I put it in with the books for sale. So I always wonder, like, when people go in and grab my book, because I'll put it in the bookstore in the airport, but I know that the SKU doesn't go to anything that they have because they didn't actually order the book to sell. So
You just stick it
I,
on the shelf.
yeah, I just stick it on the shelf. And so with the other books, and so I know that somebody grabs it, takes it up to the register, tries to ring it up, and they're like, this is not our book. It's not in our stock. And
I
so,
guarantee they hit that miscellaneous key. They type it. They type in the ISBN, right? They
so what I
and then they're
started
like,
doing,
"Damn!" And they take that 1995 like a boss.
I started leaving a note in it saying, "Hey, this book is not for sale at this store. This is a gift from me, the author, and here you go." On the hopes that, uh, because I know how God
Or
works,
maybe
dude,
the
and I
store will
figure
reach
it.
out, right? The
Yeah, and I
merchandise.
figure
Yeah.
somebody's going to see that book and be like, "Oh, well, I want to talk to this guy," or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And Mark taught me a lot about developing relationships like that. Not because, as a cop, I'm kind of standoffish with people because I don't trust people because they try to kill me sometimes. And so, because of that, because of 30 years of that being pounded into me, it's counterintuitive for me to allow people, in. But Mark taught me a lot about, just letting that guard down and, letting people in more. And he was right, man. And not only has it helped in the business sense, but it's helped in the personal sense, and it's helped in my faith as well.
It, it's. I think we talked about this last time you were on, right? Like just the little subtleties about approachability,
Mhm.
and like when you deal with what a law enforcement officer deals with on a regular basis, right? You spend 90% of your time on 10% of your population. That 10% of the population's the worst offering that your population has.
Yeah.
You end up at this domestic violence thing, and you're trying to save someone that's being abused, and then they turn on you, like all those things. But I think I'm pretty sure it was you. I don't think it was Mark, but like the beard.
Yeah.
Like I'd read the study, and in fact, shout out to Wayne Nero. This is 2 times Wayne Nero's getting a shout out this show. But he shared with his guys, and that's how I got it. This policing study about men with beards are more approachable. And so like in the past, everyone is like super clean cut, and like now you're starting to see like beards, facial hair making
Yeah.
more of an appearance, and it's just for the subtlety of being more approachable. Santa Claus had a beard, so Deputy One Time must be a nice guy, But like it's tough, and like you go from this environment and like this mentality and culture of like standoffish. I bet you can't, pour a Slurpee at 7-Eleven without like looking around.
Yeah.
Then you,
Yeah.
then you go into a boardroom, or you go in, to a merchandiser, you go into a place and you're like, hi, my name's Matt, and I wrote this book, and it's
Yeah.
really good, and I'm proud of it. How do I, get it in your, store? How do I
Right.
get your organization to, purchase it? Like those are tough conversations. Those are
Yeah.
super hard conversations. I tried doing it right out of Iraq.
Oh shit. Yeah.
And I failed miserably. Troy will tell you, like I was like the biggest bonehead because like I couldn't understand, like, they're like, there's this picture of us on like this panel, and I sit there looking like someone just beat the shit out of me, ate my Rice Krispie treats. I'm like the angriest dude ever
Yeah. Yeah.
in the picture.
Right.
That's one of the best days of my life. Troy
Yeah.
and I were in Las Vegas. I'd just come back from Iraq. I want to say I just beat Troy out for an award. That's like the bloggies, right? Like back then, and that night, Troy and I end up at like, meeting
Tiffany's Cabaret. Oh, but
even better.
He was high.
No, like we ended up like meeting just the greatest gentleman, this British guy named Matt Goss. Like we were able to treat our friends and family to a wonderful night out. But it's tough, right? Like,
right.
And in that picture, it's so weird because like I thought at that moment in time I was having the best day of my life, but this picture, I just looked like an asshole.
Yeah,
Pardon the
doesn't
language.
reflect it.
And so it's tough. It's tough, like to go in and try and market something in that moment in time that way, like that. And I was like, I was trying to push my book.
Well,
and
part of it is because we're not the type of people that brag on ourselves, right? Matt even talked about, you have to market yourself, right? You like when people say, "Hey, Toby, you made members in the military." You're like, "Hey, you deserve this award. Write up your award or write up your NCOER." It's like, it feels weird to brag on myself. I even in my civilian job, right? I was recently promoted, and I had to write up like a 9-page PowerPoint packet on myself to get promoted, and it's like it just is like you say, it's not with how we're built. To like,
right.
I'm the greatest ever. I did all these great things when you know that it's people around you and your team or whatever else. But when you're
and I think we all understand too that I'm sure all of us have done great things in our careers, but there's always somebody that paid a heavier sacrifice and did more, right? And so you always feel like why should I get to brag about it when somebody else either paid the ultimate sacrifice and can't brag about it, or you have guys that have done way more, right? And you feel you get that imposter syndrome where you feel like, well, who the fuck am I? Sorry, who am I to talk about me when there's guys that have done way better stuff.
Yeah, it is, but it's funny you go and roll this back a little bit. But you're talking about getting your voice and typing, right? It thinks back to my Toby of all of our years of military blogging, right? It was easy when I was downrange, just like it was with you. I could come off a mission, do whatever, sit down and crank something out because it's right there, right? Then I took a couple days and sterilized it and made sure that there was no, make sure there was nothing in there, was OPSEC or whatever. And a lot of people that blog, they came back and then they lost their voice, right? It's a problem we've talked about many times. Even myself, I have not written in a long time because it's like, what do we write about? I mean, short of me just being another pontificating talking head about policy and politics, we do this show to do that, but it's like, I'm going to write about it too. I mean, who wants to know opinion?
I think what I've found, and this is because I've just started to get back into writing, because quite frankly, I was a little bit burned out after the book, and I was burned out just because of all the processes that I explained to you. But as I got back into writing, or as I'm getting back into writing, my focus has been like, where can I help, right? What experiences have I had that I can help other people, and focusing on that, because I'm not I mean, I'm still a cop, but in a different sense, right? I'm not doing the stuff I'm not doing all the cool guy stuff, right? And so for me, I want something that's a little more timeless, right? Because the cartel stuff is very niche and it's locked into a certain time frame. And so I've kind of been focusing on leadership and like just navigating life, right? Because I've been through some shit and I've seen some shit, and those things that you deal with as you go along, what you find is that what I've found anyways is everybody's going through crap their whole life, right? And everybody wants to act like it's not happening. They want to put on this good front, and it's like when you go to church on Sunday, right? You go to church on Sunday and everybody's wearing their proper clothes, and even though they were screaming at each other in the car, it's a big smile inside the church and shaking hands and everything's great. And so I think, for me, I'm going to focus on when I've been not great, and how you work through that successfully, and kind of, pushing that out there. So I think, to your point, I think we still have, because of our experiences, we still have plenty to write about and tell people about.
I think, you could write more about and you know, like, how do I say it? The subject matter expert on all things bad through the lens
Yeah.
of a man walking with God, trying to do good.
Right.
And, you know, right. So there's, you know, the greatest discouragement, you know, like the greatest discouragement that we could have is thinking that, you know, we're unworthy for an opportunity.
Right.
And, you know, like, no matter what we've seen or what you've seen or what you've experienced, it, you know, like, yeah, like I think that you have this voice. I love what you've already done with it. And I think there's just always more need for it. And right now, I think, honestly, like, at least the United States, I think, is just so willing to accept. 5 years ago, I'd say the United States was not willing to accept a man with a message with faith attached to it.
Right.
And never did we need faith more.
Mm-hmm.
Never do we need faith more than today.
Right.
And so, like, I you know, anytime you feel inspired to do that, like, I'll buy it.
That's kind of
I'll read it.
Kind of where
I'll
I'm
take
pushing
it.
now. Well, I appreciate all that, man, and that's kind of that's been my shift behind the scenes. That's what I'm shifting to is moving more towards kind of telling the story of the back facing stuff, I guess, not the forward facing stuff, right? Because there's the forward facing stuff that we all have a facade, dude, whether people admit it or not, right? You have that forward facing facade, and for me, I have to have it. Like, I can't be sad in the face of my employees. I can't be mad in the face of my employees. I have to, I have to have. Colonel Powell was the one that said, "You bring the weather," right? And that's exactly true. Like, as the chief, when I walk in,
Great quote.
I bring the weather to my employees. So however I walk in is going to have a direct effect on their day. And so I have to have this forward facing thing. But what people don't see is behind the curtain of that, which is the shit that you go through as just a normal human being, right? The mental struggles that you have, all the normal shit that we go through as human beings. And so that's the realm that I've kind of started to embrace and talk about. And I'm going to do in January, I'm going to be part of I'll be speaking on stage about some of the mental health struggles and just kind of how I worked through that, right? And so I think it's important for guys like me to talk about that stuff, and not as a sign of, not being weak and saying, "Oh, we need to just woe is me," but just how do you work through that shit, man? And letting people know, like, it's normal. Like, it's normal stuff. We all go through it, whether we want to admit it or not. And if I have people that look, and I know because of the social media and all that stuff, I do have people watching. And so if I can help one person, that sees or hears me and says, "Dude, if he can do it, I can do it," right? I can make it through. Yeah, that's a win for me.
It's the same, it's the same stigma, military and law enforcement both, right? We have this bravado, and you have to put up this image, and with this problem, we all know about the 22 a day in the military, and that what's behind that, and it's the same thing, right? People, leaders who feel like they can never show have a chink in the armor, sitting there and say, "Hey, I'm vulnerable too," right? I make things happen, and things give me bad days, and I get depressed. Doesn't mean any less of a leader. It doesn't mean any less of a warrior or cop or anything. But it shows people. I always say this all the time, right? As men of God, you'll get it. I always say this all the time. The greatest overlooked quality of a leader is humility and humbleness. And I always tell people, if Jesus could get down and wash the feet of his disciples, you don't get more humble than that, right? So
that's right.
But we have this persona that you have to be, chest puffed out. Never make a mistake, always right. Obviously, we all make mistakes, and our people see through that as hypocrisy. But if you humble yourself, doesn't mean you still don't bark orders when you need to bark orders. But if you humble yourself, those are the people, those employees, those soldiers, those whatever, those subordinates you have will follow you to through the gates of hell because you're being honest and true, right? And I always that humility goes a long way, and being humble.
And that's kind of the point for me is letting them know, like, hey man, like if we need to, I'll still throat punch a motherfucker, but at the same time, I will go talk to a counselor about the problems I'm having, and I'm not afraid to say that in front of a group of people, right? And if somebody wants to say that's being weak, then I think they're weak.
Yeah. You know, Matt, real quick, I know we want to wrap here, but one thing you may want to think, a lot of friends of mine that are cops in all different aspects and stuff I talk to a lot. And, you know, with your perspective now, both as a sheriff for so long, as sheriff's deputy, and now as a chief of police, is community policing. I think if you looked into that or thought about writing or talking about that, because, you know, we've had this bad since 2020 image of cops, right? And everyone has seen this, and they were the most hated thing ever for the last 4 or 5 years. And, you know, our friends of mine know that have got into community policing where they're literally back to walking a beat by themselves, approaching business owners, talking to folks, knowing who the homeless people are on the street, all that stuff has made such a huge impact. And I think, you know, it's dropping that bravado a little bit. Yes, you're taking on a little risk and a vulnerability, but getting back into being that local cop who knows their community, knows the people, is not going to come in everything black and white with a big stick and try to solve it all that way. Right. You know, I think a lot of law enforcement agencies need to start to hear and see that to be effective and erase the stereotype that the media and everyone else has put on them.
Yeah, absolutely. The bottom line is you have to be approachable, right? It has to be a human to human contact no matter what. And when it's a human to human contact, you erase all the BS that goes along with it. I saw down here, you guys, sorry, I see shiny objects. I didn't know Travis is sponsoring you guys. Alpha Elite, man.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Travis.
Years.
Yeah, all right.
For years.
That's my boy, man. I love that guy.
Yeah,
he's a great Texan.
Well, he's also a great Alaskan.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like Travis and I went to rival high schools and graduated in Anchorage, Alaska together.
At the same time, I think I was stationed in Alaska, and you guys were young punks in high school.
That's funny.
No, like, so it's so random. Like we connected years later.
Great dude, man. He does a lot of good stuff.
I'd like Travis. Travis and I have worked together on. I took Travis hunting years ago.
Oh, nice.
And then gave him the opportunity, to pay it forward, which he's done multiple times. And now Travis and I, for the past 3 or 4 years, we do. I host, or we host. Like 12 deserving guys, primarily like Green Berets now, because Travis, like that's his foundation, that's his thing, that's his niche. But like Travis is awesome. You know, he's getting into he's with that new foundation, the stem cell stuff, like Project Recon, but it's stem cells, and a guy that we took, a special forces guy that we took on an alligator hunt, that I had Travis go with me so he could help, just help me out on it, or help us out on it. This guy named Jessamine Chaka, and that guy got shot in the head, was paralyzed on one whole side of his body. And like the dude had no quit, right? No quit. If there was a set of stairs, he was going to climb the stairs, even though one leg didn't work. And, while I admired the stubbornness of it, I was also like, come on, man, like we could just take this escalator. but like the stem cells changed that guy's life. That guy couldn't speak before. He stuttered, super intelligent guy. And he got his voice back. He got the ability to walk properly. And now he's married to a beautiful lady. They're about to have a baby.
That's awesome.
And Travis is like one of the top evangelists and ambassadors for getting guys and gals like fixed. And you know, it's it's a mission for him. You know, him and Emily got Alpha Elite, but there's these other things in the peripheral that he's just always so deeply engaged in and so passionate about, that when he talks to you about it, you get like, all right, Travis, I'm in. Like, what are we doing? All right, let's go.
And just to be fair, he's as busy cat as Matt is, because I takes me weeks or months to get either one of them on the show. I know every time I hit up Matt, I'm so like, how's this week look? It's Travis, the same thing. How's this week? And then once I'll catch him, I can do it. I'm like, let's lock it in.
I get, like, we're in a couple of group chats together, and then we individually communicate probably like weekly, maybe once a week.
Tell him I said hi, man.
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely, yeah. We also, like, since you saw the bright shiny thing, the whole time scrolling with that has been your website. And
nice.
We've had, like you've seen, like we put a couple of the books and stuff up. Rob, the unpaid producer's like the man, getting everything done there. And speaking, it happens, right? Here's the website, onetimenation.com.
What?
And find the books there, get stuff, hit them up on the socials.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm like, this was such a surprise. I didn't even know who was going to be on tonight. I just haven't been able to get on. It just worked out that I got to come on tonight. And so this made my night. I love it, man. I miss you guys.
This has been fun, dude. And I miss seeing you guys too. And I told you, God steps in when he needs to. All right, these guys got to get together. Let's do this.
Yeah. And it's great. Like when, Travis does, like, we run in those good circles, right? Just good people. And even last week when I was at with Jason down at Greer Airsoft, I looked up. He has all the flags except Space Force, and then he has Green Beret Foundation. And I go, Travis? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a Green Beret Foundation flag in my shop down here.
Nice.
I mean, it's in the back office.
It's all good.
That way you gotta like, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear.
Hey, Matt, we covered a lot, brother. Anything that we didn't cover, any topic, any thing coming up like that you want to let people know about, or you just want to let our viewers know?
Nah, man. No, nothing really. Just, if they want to know about me, socials is the easiest way to get a glimpse into the craziness I call my life. And, man, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you having me on, and always a great talk.
Well, here's one thing I learned tonight. We've had you on a number of times. I've learned is probably 65% of the socials I see from you are probably going to be getting done on the can, because you are multitasking. I don't think you're in the doctor's office that much, but I'm going to say every time I see an IG or a social post, I'm like, I bet I know where Matt wrote that from. Anytime, if he can be productive.
I can neither confirm nor deny that allegation, sir.
Yeah, that's right. But again, you, like Toby, you guys make me feel like a chump. You, Toby, Travis, all you guys are going 1,000 miles an hour with 50 million things going on at one time.
Dude, what are you talking about? You you're hunting. You have a job that we're all jealous of.
Mm-hmm.
You got grandbabies that you're getting to spend time with. You're getting to spend time with your mom, dude. Like, you're doing everything right, man. I sit here and I wish I'm envious of you, brother.
No, man,
agreed.
That happened. But hey, good having you on. I know, Matt, you've offered many times in the past to come on and help guest host. I know that's a little bit tougher now, again, because there's other things, and that's okay. But we'll stay in touch, brother. And
yes, sir.
And we'll keep up on each other.
All right, sounds good, fellas. Great to see you. Great to spend time with you.
Good to see you too. Good to see you, Toby.
All right, Brass.